to this new chapter. In this chapter, we will dive deeper into optimizing our scene. Since we are dealing with environmental rendering, it's always a good idea to save memory as well as render performance. And there are multiple things that you can do in order to achieve that. The first thing in order to save render time is to bring all the data that we have here to a SSD disk. That means when I started with the project, all of my files were stored in a HDD, and now I have moved all the assets to a scratch drive, to a Evo 970, and this M2 disk has a very fast reading speed, over 3000 megabytes per second, and this is a really good way to optimize the first time to pixel. But what we also should think about is to cull all the meshes away that are currently not visible in our shot. So we have a lot of trees on the left side. When I move the camera here, you will see we have a lot of trees, and those trees are getting not influenced by shadows from the light on the right side and so on. So that means we can cut away all the trees that are not visible to our eye. We can also do this on the right side, but on this side, this could influence our shadows. And here we also have not that many trees, but we will do it on the left side. And how we can do that? First of all, you will move up to, in our file, to the subgrade frustum build. I will take it from here and will bring it down right on the side of our point clouds. And I will dive into it and will simply create a box. Nothing special, just a poly box. And what I will do now is I will take the translation data of our shot camera and reference it exactly to our box. And I will also do this with our rotation. So here, what that means is that our box is now exactly at the same position like our lens, our camera lens. And now we cheat a little bit. I will dive down into our box now. I will also turn the camera a little bit to see our scene. And when I move out, we should have, we should probably see our box, which is here. This is our spawned box. And what I will do now is I will extrude this box a little more. So first of all, I will get rid of all those faces that we don't require or need. And I will select the first face and do a poly extrude. And I will extrude it by 5000 meters. And I will make sure that we have our backside, and will I need the negative, and I will scale this up. So I will also place an output, and we will jump back and see if this is what we wanted to achieve. So we will link it directly into our scene, and then we see, okay, it's heading into the correct direction, but it's not covering our entire image. So what we can do is we go back into this mesh, and I will select the polygon that we already have from the extrude, and I will scale this up, something like that. So I will use 1.77. And this, it probably would fit to this area that we will preserve, but I will make it even larger, something like that. So just to make sure, so this works way better. So 235, and this will cover our entire screen. What we now will do, we go back into our trees point cloud. And here we have the first group of points on the left. So this is our right tree point cloud, and this is the tree point cloud in the back. And I will now use a lob import. And I will now look for our prune object, frustrum build, I will load it in, and we currently see nothing, so I needed to activate the mesh, and this should now line up with our point cloud. So I will check our point cloud, which is here, and this is the template function, so that we see what we need to cut. The next thing is we use an ISO offset. And the ISO offset requires a density name, and I will move it up to 50 or something like that, so that we get a volume. It doesn't have to look great, so we probably could even go further down with the resolution. Now we need a new group, and we will deactivate base group, but we will activate bounding regions, and here I will switch to bounding volumes. I will switch also to points and call this group X. So we will go to the manipulation tool and now need to play with those values. So we need to invert it, maybe 2.5 should be enough. So, and the next thing is we need a blast. And in the blast, we are picking the X group and delete non-selected. And now all the other trees that we are not selecting are gone. In order to try to not badly influence the group, we could create an ID value for all of these points. So we could, I will create a wrangle, attribute wrangle. And we'll create a new integer attribute and call this ID. PT num. So let me check if this was right. The IDs are the same. So now we have an ID value for all of our trees. It will probably change now how the points get distributed, but in the end, when we delete those points, it will make sure that the instances are not switching around each time when we change those point numbers. So, and the rest that we have to do is we will deactivate our volume in the scene itself. It's just for us. And we need to rebake our first group here on the left. So as you can see, it has already lesser amounts of trees. I will save it to disk and we will reload it, or it has already reloaded. So this is a very handy way in order to save a lot of RAM. So when I move out or move the camera to the side, so we see there are not much trees anymore in a not visible area. Great. What we also do is we could bake out our entire render scene always before we start to render a final image. So I will go to caches chapter, and right underneath I will call this full scene USD. So this has the advantage that we can flatten all layers and preserve the reference. I will save this. Our file is now 62 megabytes big. And here I will use a sublayer in order to load our scene again in full capacity. Has worked. And this is a very handy way in order to save additional performance. Otherwise, Houdini Solaris would need to calculate the entire tree once again. But with that method, you can optimize it a little. The other great thing about Houdini Solaris in general is also we can deactivate USD primitives that we don't need to see currently for working on a specific area. So we can move down in the scene graph and can, for example, choose the trees on the right and only display them as bounding boxes. Or as texture cards. Sometimes this is not working very perfectly when you have a curved shape or something like that. So you can also deactivate it fully for rendering or in the viewport. So we can also do it on the left side here. And as you can see, we also don't need the robot sprayer currently in the viewport. This is a very nice way. So I will save this file now to 5.1. And I will start to do a render preview. And as you can see, since we have deactivated those in the viewport, those objects, those trees on the right side, it will also affect our preview render. I'm currently not rendering our final result. I'm only rendering the preview. So I will switch back to our scene and activate our trees for now. We don't need to have the robot back at the moment, but we can deactivate our robot, of course. So we also don't need to see our windmills at the moment. We will deactivate them as well. And yeah, the next thing that we now want to do is we want to draw some of our crops. And in order to do that, we essentially have to do the exact same like with our trees. So it's only different type of assets. I will put this in a box to have more overview. Give it dark green. Those are trees. And I want to have a green field here in the foreground, maybe something here in the back as well. And here on the hills we can add some grass, or maybe we can deal with it with a color to fake to have grass. And we will also layout paint some grass here in front, but this is currently the future for the scene. So I will create a new layout, and as usual I will use the helper to paint an area. We need to connect it to our shot to be able to understand where our lines of trees are, and of course our fence and so on. And now I move out of this scene. And here I will place our first field. So somewhere around here. So that's the camera frustum. So we can put it somewhere in parallel. And here is the end of the first field. So I will deactivate this and call this draw helper field 1. Of course, we have not painted it to our surface, but it has worked. Didn't know that, but it's great to know. So we could even use the connection from here. We make this yellow. And same procedure, we will copy and paste this entire thing. And we will also copy this thing. Oh, we don't want to have it right here. So something like that. And what we now have to load is our crop asset. And this was, what was it? Young barley. It was growing barley. Here, 1 meter in diameter. So where is it? I can't see it. I think I can't see it because it's so small. Probably the camera is not showing it. Yes, okay. That was the issue. So I will not use the square variant. So I will change the variant. So I will click on it, right click, and not right click. I will go into the variant menu. And here I will select circle. Now we have the circle one. So this will automatically create a set variant. And we don't need the explore variants for now, since we only have one. We don't want to use displacements. We not want to prune anything. We don't need, so we maybe don't need that for now. What we have to do is we have to put our growing barley into the prototype primitives now, since we have no collection. I will rename it to chapter 5 and we'll call this barley, growing barley USD, growing barley 0 USD. And here I will use the same for loading this reference. So setup complete. We will now move into our PTS trees and we will jump back. We will call this PTS barley. We will delete those. And we can use the same frustrum. So we could use this frustrum, of course. I will go into this one. And here I will change to our new draw helper field 1, draw helper field 1. So here we have it. So this is our field. And those are the points. Check once again. We have a field, we have to subdivide it, of course. We need to project it to the ground. And then we will get rid of all the points that we don't need. But we have to make sure that our scattering is has a better distribution. So we will try to make it even, since our circles are very even. We have a field and not the wilderness, so maybe 100. So, and we also probably need a lot more, so we will try with 4,500. And this should be enough. Barley 1. And now I will load this in. Here is it. Subnet out. PTS barley. And yeah, I will resave the file to 5.2 and I will activate it. And here are our scattered plants. But as you can see, they are very small and we have probably not much. We need a lot more. So what we will do is, first of all, maybe we don't need that. I will go back to our point cloud and we'll crank up this value 45,000. So now we have a lot amount of plants. Trying it again. And this looks way better. So we will bake this out. This is highly important now. Otherwise, you will not be able to render this image. I will reload this. And I will call this growing barley 1. And of course, we will merge it to a new merge. And we will rebake our file. It is now not that much bigger. But here we have everything. And as you can see, Houdini tries to get some space in the viewport. And what we can do is we can hit D and go to optimize and increase the millions of polygons that are currently visible. So maybe to 500 millions. And this, not even this, is enough. So, but yeah, we will try to make it work. I will save this file once again. And I will start the RenderMan res, and we hope we get something to see. And here we see our first bucket. And will be interesting to see what will happening. I think we have a field. And now it is rendering quite fast. The only thing that I see currently is that those plants are very small, probably too small. So we have to check that. So go back. And now I move into our scene, what we have so far. And yes, our plants are too small. So in order to resolve that, what we can do, we can reduce the amount of points and scaling those plants up. So, and we will do this. We have 2 ways to do that. The first way would be to first of all decrease our point amount. So we go back to 4,500, maybe to 450 just for testing. Of course, we go to our scene, to our current scene, not to the baked one. So our plants are very small, and we will use a transform of the asset itself to scale it up. Here we'll activate set scale to and call this barley group 1 instances. So maybe we can directly check it in the scene without baking it. So, and our plants are also in the ground. So I will move them up. I did that to have, in the first place, to have a better ability to adapt to field sizes and so on, and to the terrain itself. So I think from scaling, this camera is a little tricky. So from scaling, this looks way better, but not enough. So that's too much. So something like that. And now we also need lesser, and it looks much, much better. But those plants are not growing that high. So what we also have to take care about is that the field is not ending here, so the field should also stay on the left side. So we have to move our points a little more in order to make this work. So I will jump into the PTS barley and I will deform our points a little more. So we can do that here. I will move those points up. Now get subdivided. So let us check. Yeah, maybe we have to move the points to the left side as well. So where was it? It was here. More to the left. That's a little too much. Way better, way better. So now we will increase our point numbers yet again. Where are our points? They are here. So 4,500. Maybe this is a lot too much. Yeah, way too much. 1,000. Oh, that's too less. 2,000. Better. 3,000. So I think from the perspective this is really great so far, so I will increase it even further. This should work better. So our camera's here. Let us check if the culling has worked. Why is our culling not working again? Maybe we should do something here with the volume. Yeah, I think this is way better. one time again. Yeah, maybe 1.8. So let us look. Yeah, this looks good. So I will bake this out again, and I will reload it again. In the meantime, we could bake this right here, go to our render, save our file, and render it again. And now it should look way better. I really like the result. What we now do, or what I will now do, is I will add a lot more of those fields. So at least on the right side, I will add a field right in the background. And I will also add some grass here in the foreground. And yeah, I will forward this. So I will comment this a little bit. So I forwarded this part of the tutorial by 1300%. It took over an hour, but so we can see a little what I did. In the first place, I placed a new field on the right side and made sure that the naming is correct. Check the different variants. Did a test render, of course, just to see how it looks. And I started to blend out some of those unnecessary objects and started to layout paint the grass in the foreground. I tried different values, and I have to say it's sometimes very hard to find the best settings in the first place, so you have to play with those values. Here I have deleted everything that is not in the image, and then I increased the quality and added more grass placed by hand with the placement tool. And then I added some flowers and so on. I tried different scalings and placed them by hand even more to have some variety in the grass. I did a new test render. And sometimes you get this jagged lines, but this is not a problem. And here I had the first result of the grass, and it was okay, but not enough. So I placed a second layout to place additional grass in the same area to support the layout paint with more with scattered results. So change the point clouds. This is exactly the same procedure that I've used on the trees, and it's just repeating of the same workflow. Here I had placed different, I tried different assets, variants. Then I had a crash The crash was because I not have cached the instances and switched forward and back between the Solaris space and the builds or the subspace too fast, and this can lead to a crash. So this was the scattered result, and I think I increased the amounts of points and as well as the position. Then I had my second crash just for the same reason. So it's heavily important to save often when you deal with quadrillions of polys in the viewport or at render time. So then I picked a group of different grass patches and tried again to find the best ways to scatter them and also to find a good scaling. Tried different values and then I started to place them. I was not, I don't like to have the rectangle fill option, so I was choosing the circle one, and sometimes it has happened that I placed some grass directly on the fence, so I needed to delete them and needed to refill those areas, but this was really nice, and I deleted everything which was on the street. It took some time, I guess 20 minutes or so to place them. And I did the same in the foreground to add some more variety. Then I started to, I tried different settings even before. And then I started to draw some grass in the middle of the road just for testing. And of course, I baked everything out and saved a new file and started to render again. And this took a little longer because we had very high temperatures yesterday when I was recording this session. So my CPU is slowing down the CPU when it has reached 70 degrees of Celsius. And yesterday was really hot here, so the render time and the pre-calculation time was a lot longer. I also have to mention that one of the things that take really long for the USD space is to validate all the assets and to validate the entire assets that you have in the shot. This takes some time, and the instancing phase of the render engine to pick the variants and so on is also taking it's the longest time in the pre-calculation, or the biggest part of the pre-calculation phase. So, and then I of course placed additional grass with the drawline helper that I built, and I did another image, a final image. So I tried to render the full scale image in full HD, I guess. Yeah, it was full HD. And now I come back to original speed. So here we are again. So what you see currently in the screen is the result of adding grass and also adding a barley field on the right. It's more golden. It's ready to be harvested. And for 16 samples, it looks really great so far. And We will now look into, we will do a screenshot first of all. I will close this and I will check those grass objects here on the fence. So maybe this is too much and maybe I should remove some of those. So I need to check. Yeah, as we can see, here's the problem. We have some wrong projected meshes inside, so we can go back to here and can deal with that. So we will go into our projection and here we have the issue. This is because of our fence. I use the fence to draw in the scene to have a better orientation, and I will make sure that we blast the fence away. So farm fence got blasted. And we should probably, yeah, I think this will resolve those wrong placements. Collection 1. Here's our new line. And it is now looking better, correct. So I will save this once again. So every time when you have some of those issues, try to resolve it. Try to look at what you see. So now we have fixed this issue. And this is everything for this chapter. In the next chapter, we will take care about our background. So see you in the next chapter. Bye.